Welcome, future Sun Devils screen. You should be in the right place. Hopefully you're here for the School of Sustainability. We are coming from the perspective of student engagement, so we're talking more of out of the class experience. Today we're talking specifically about choosing your adventure and seeing how those out of the class experiences that lead to internships lead to career options. Like Colin mentioned, my name is Abigail Graves. You can call me Abby, and I'm a student engagement coordinator for the School of Sustainability. And I'm very pleased to be able to introduce our guest speaker. I'll get to her in a moment. But if you're here, you're probably here because you're interested in cities or climate change, energy, water, food supply, something about social transformation or justice or sustainable development. That's what most of our students are interested in, one of these areas. And then we've got a ton of degree options that provide focus areas that get you a more intense level of study in one of these. We have two main degree programs. It's a Bachelor of Arts of Sustainability, and the focus areas are from international development, policy, government, society and sustainability, or sustainable urban dynamics. Our Bachelor of Science degree has economics, ecosystems, and then the energy, materials, technology tracks to give you a taste of the electives that are in those lists if that's one of the areas you want to focus on. And then we have a full program that we just launched in food system sustainability. So if you are very interested in sustainable food systems and you want to focus more thoroughly on the agricultural and the business areas of food systems, then that would be something that you might consider. So that's just real high level brief overview of degree plan options we have. One of the plugs that we like to make, especially since this is kind of a career-oriented talk today, is that we like to highlight that we have 3 out of our 4 undergrad degree holders are having a job that is directly related to sustainability. I also want to caution that we have a narrow definition of what that means. And so there could be people who are even more so working in sustainable fields, but maybe their position title or their organization didn't lend to have us in our count. But at a minimum, we know at least 75% of our students are going directly from a sustainability undergrad into a sustainability related career. By comparison, the US average is only 1 out of every 4 students have a job that's directly related to their major. Most of our students are going into private industry, and then we have a large chunk in government, academia, education, and then nonprofits. So we do have a variety of different industry areas that students go into. So for this particular talk today, we are going to talk about one student who went along through her first year. She's going to take us through her undergrad experience, telling us about what she got involved with and how she ended up in her position today. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our adventurer today, Mackenzie McGuffey. I was lucky to meet her in her freshman year, and that now she is working for Valley Metro, and I'm very pleased that she will introduce herself, and then we will get started in her freshman year.
Thank you, Abby. So yeah, as Abby said, my name is Mackenzie McGuffey. I did my BA in sustainability, and then I continued and did the 4+1 program. So I had a little bit of an unconventional path. I did my undergrad in 3 years, so then the +1 was my master's. It was a really great experience, got me a lot of education and a lot of value for the amount of time that I was in school. So as Abby said, I work for Valley Metro as their sustainability coordinator, and that's something that really I wouldn't have been able to do without this specific degree program. So I'll kind of take you through what I did for my 4 years there. So my first year, I came in as a freshman, and let's see, I lived in the dorms. I lived in Adelphi too. So there's a couple different sustainability dorms. This was the sustainability kids that weren't in Barrett. So it was a pretty small group of us, pretty close knit. And I liked living in the dorms. I thought it was fun. The sharing the bathroom was a little bit tough, but you know, you get over it. So that was pretty cool. And then starting my freshman year, I didn't really get too involved my very first semester because you're kind of just getting used to everything. But my second semester is when I joined Greenlight Solutions. So Greenlight Solutions is a student club / nonprofit, and they pretty much just connect you up with different sustainability projects that are happening in this area. So I got to work on a tiny house project that I'll kind of explain a little bit more because I stayed on that project for multiple years. Really got rolling when I was in my second year of school. Talking to professors, this is something honestly I didn't do as a freshman, but I did much later in school. And I would definitely recommend talking to them sooner rather than later because they're really there to help you. And my class sizes were pretty small. I think that's kind of nice with sustainability. The majority of them are, and they're really there to help you. So I didn't do that as a freshman because, you know, you're a freshman, you don't really understand yet. But as I got along later, I definitely did that. My second year. In my second year, I started getting really interested in sustainable cities and kind of just like, how do we make our habitats that we choose to live in sustainable? What is sustainability? How do we go about this? So one of the ways that I kind of got more interested in this was through the biophilic design contest. Biophilic design is super cool. I would encourage you all to look it up if you're interested. It's pretty much just really ultra sustainable, green, lush kind of design. So I got to work on this project with a couple other students, and we did a whole redesign of a library area and what it could look like being a biophilic kind of design. And we got third place. A nice thing sometimes with ASU competitions is you win a little bit of money. So we got a little bit of money through that, and that was really fun. And that really kind of grew my interest in sustainable urbanism. As a second year student, I taught ASU 101, and that was a lot of fun. It was more fun teaching it than it was taking it. I'm just kind of getting up in front of the class and everything. And it's interesting because I was only a second year student at this time, and I was teaching first year students. So even though, you know, I'm teaching them and stuff, a lot of the people that were in that class ended up being some of my really good friends. I really enjoyed that class. This is how I met one of my best friends. Abby, you know, Anna Bartholomew. So that's how I met her, and I really enjoyed doing that. And then volunteer experiences. So I'm still involved in the Tiny House Project, which is through Build Us Hope. So that picture right there is with me and Elizabeth Singleton. She's the CEO of that nonprofit. And really what we were doing is we were kind of like these student tiny house sustainability consultants that were helping them kind of shape decisions on how they wanted to make these homes more sustainable. They were building them specifically for homeless veterans. So one of the ways that they took our recommendations and actually did it, which was pretty cool, is we got them to use modular walls. So have a lot less waste than your traditional walls in construction. So that was just one of the things that they adopted. And it was really fun to kind of go through this whole process and then actually see like the work that we did really become something. Because that's the thing, that when you're doing these outside of school experiences, you're going to see a lot more of this stuff come to fruition. Classes are amazing for teaching you the concepts, but getting involved outside of school and doing the projects is really where you're going to see your work pay off. At least that's my experience. So going into my third year. So at this point, you're required to do an internship in the School of Sustainability, which is amazing. And a lot of people do more than one, and I definitely recommend that. So I did my first internship in my third year. And I did that for a nonprofit called Trellis. They're kind of this hybrid of, they do neighborhood development and they also do counseling for people to buy homes for the first time. So making sure that you're ready for that whole process. So I worked more kind of in the neighborhood development side, and it was kind of funny because I was their sustainability intern, and I got the job. I show up and I ask them like, all right, what kind of sustainability projects am I going to work on? And they're like, well, what do you want to work on? And I was like, I don't know. And they told me like, okay, well, figure out what you want to work on. Bring some sustainability to us is kind of what they were saying to me. And I thought that was the strangest thing, that they're just kind of like, we want sustainability. We don't know what that means, but we do want it. So can you give that to us? And that was kind of, I don't know if it's just my experience, but that theme of internships really, really carried throughout my college experience. So in my opinion, if you're a person that really likes to create, and if you're a person that really likes to be a self-starter, sustainability is amazing for you. Because at Trellis, I got to help them implement recycling at a neighborhood cleanup. And then I also got to kind of start up this like small scale urban forestry program for local businesses. And even though that one didn't fully develop because I was only there for a semester, it was still really cool to kind of just sit down, think about what I think that the area needs and what I think they could benefit from, and then actually make that happen. So I really liked that. Getting paid. So I work a lot, and that's just kind of who I am as a person. But when I was kind of towards the end of school, I had a lot of jobs. So I know Abby pretty well because I worked in the advising office and the student center. So I did that part-time. I had my internship, and then I ended up getting another internship later that I'll talk about in the next slide. I also babysat and I delivered pizzas, and those are kind of more part-time. So really I did work a lot, and you totally can do it. Just as long as you're managing your time right and you're thinking about when you're going to do what. In my third year, I applied to do the 4+1, those requirements right there. Let's go into my fourth year. All right, and my last year, which I would say was arguably the best, just because it was really kind of like tying up my college experience and really pushing me out into the real world. So that's when I got my internship with Valley Metro, and exact same thing that I experienced at Trellis. I came on board and I'm like, all right, what kind of sustainability stuff am I working on? They're like, what do you want to work on? And I was like, okay. So by that point, I was kind of used to that dialogue, and I was more comfortable with it because of my experience at Trellis. What I ended up doing for them is I got to update their sustainability plan from 2014. I got basically all of the managers together that worked at Valley Metro. I did a lot of background research on what they're doing, what they could be doing, what transit's doing. And really kind of me with the managers came up with this new sustainability plan. I made it, and that's really ultimately what got me a job with them. I made it as a 5-year plan. They really liked it, and I pitched it as like, you could do this with your current structure as an intern, like an intern working on it, plus your existing staff, but it would go faster if you had a full-time person, and they took the full-time person, which was good. So they created a brand new position for me, and that's pretty much what I do now. 95% is I'm doing their sustainability program, 5% I'm doing some environmental planning. And then going back to school, capstone workshop, something that everybody has to do. I did mine with Scott. It was the neighborhood happiness lab. That one was really fun. It's very hands-on, so expect that if you're going to do it. You're going to be really building stuff and doing physical work, so be prepared for that. And also, as a very sniffly human being, I will say if you have allergies, take it in the fall, because I took it in the spring and it was really tough with just allergies. Great class, be cognizant of that though. And then graduate courses. The graduate courses were really just kind of like I said, tying up all of the loose ends of everything that I learned in undergrad. Ton of emphasis on project management, which is just a really, really good skill to have. However, whether you want to go private sector, government, nonprofit, whatever you want to do, it's so helpful. So that was really the focus of my graduate courses, and I've been at my job now for a year. So I graduated last spring. So then I've been out full time for a year now. I'm totally losing track of time, but so yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing since. Definitely would not have gotten on this career path and in the job that I'm in right now had I not gone to ASU and had I not had this specific path. The advice I wish that I had when I was back in school, so it's super intimidating to get your first internship because, you've never worn business casual clothes before, you've never sat in a cubicle, you've never done things like that. And that intimidation definitely stopped me from doing it my sophomore year. I wish that I would have done more internships, because that's where I really learned, okay, I like urbanism and I like housing and I like these things, but what could I realistically see myself doing as a full-time career? So pursue the internship, do the outside of school project. It's really, really worth it. And it's only intimidating for the first couple weeks, I promise. And then you kind of get over it and you get into the swing of it. Best part about working at Valley Metro, I really believe in their mission of connecting communities, enhancing lives. And I feel like transit does that. Transit is such a cool sector to work in when you're in sustainability, because it's not like it's inherently unsustainable. It's really the opposite. It has so many characteristics of sustainability built into it that really the work that I'm doing is just fine-tuning excellence that already exists within the system. So I really like that about it. I think it's really cool too, just with my position, because it's completely brand new, that I really get to define what it is. And I know that I'm not the only person in the School of Sustainability that has done an internship and then they created a new position for them. My case is not unique. It's really, really cool how if you get in that position, you can kind of shape what this role does for the organization going into the future. And I love that I'm able to do that. And then lastly, carrying onward, I definitely plan to be with Valley Metro for at least the next couple years. I really want to see the plan that I created when I was an intern kind of fully play out and see what happens. I do their greenhouse gas reporting, and I measure a lot of different indicators for them. So I want to see if these projects that I'm doing have really impacted it the way that I've predicted. I plan on being there for the next couple years, and then once that point comes, I'll see what life's like.
That was what we had prepped in terms of your timeline to share. I wonder if either of our students might have questions. Do you want to ask Mackenzie anything? We miss you around the office, Mackenzie.
Yeah, I miss working there. That was working for the School of Sustainability was definitely my favorite job that I did through college.
Hey team, it's Colin jumping in here. Mackenzie, if you're looking back retroactively here in the school, what are some things to future change agents that are going to join us? Are there skills or certifications or knowledge that you talked a little bit about networking, talking to folks, but are there things, if they want to be a change agent, maybe no matter where they go, you would really emphasize? I mean, you said networking. Are there other things as a young professional and executive now that you're like, gosh, I wish I did this my freshman year?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it depends on what kind of, like, where you want to go with sustainability. Because for me, being more in the urban planning and transit realm, there's definitely some skills that I could have built on. However, there's one, and you actually mentioned it in your class, and I went through and did it. It was the GRI certification. So I went through and did that course. It's the Global Reporting Initiative, and it's pretty much just a standardized way of reporting sustainability. So that's one certification that I did, and that's just pretty helpful just in general what you do, especially if you're going to be like the one sustainability person that's at an organization, you're definitely going to end up doing reporting. So I do that every year. That's been helpful, and I've incorporated some ways that they do it into Valley Metro's reporting. I would say that one's important. As somebody in transit, I definitely wish I took GIS courses as a student, because I'm in the planning division. Even though I'm technically not a planner, that's still kind of where I'm housed. And I'm pretty much the only person that doesn't know how to use GIS. And that's something that I've been slowly having to learn as I'm on the job. Think about whatever sector you're interested in, and there are hard skills that'll go along with it. It's kind of interesting because the sustainability degree, you're not going to be required to take those courses, because it's just so, you know, there's energy sustainability, there's food sustainability, those are completely different worlds. You just kind of have to build it into your schedule. So that would be a good point to talk to an advisor and figure out what those skills kind of are.
In the degree plan, we have to have a related discipline as well. Do you want to mention to us what your related discipline was?
Oh yeah, I did mine just out of interest. Looking back, maybe I should have done it more transit specific just to have that extra knowledge, but I did my related discipline just in food, just because I thought it was interesting and I just wanted to make good choices for myself and kind of shape what my diet was going to be in the future. So I just did it kind of out of interest, and it's really cool. Definitely the food system sustainability class is still one of the best, I think, next to Collins, of course.
What about now as a young professional, right? So, you know, we certainly have many high school students joining us here, but I mean, you can remember freshman day one. Do you have maybe a tip or a trick now as a young professional out in the actual marketplace? Gosh, what would you tell somebody even a year ago is a entering person to Valley Metro or any other type of organization? What is like your top tip from a professional basis?
I would say internship would be the big one that I would push, but since I already said that, I would say just like talk to people. Talk to people if they have a job that you're interested in. You're going to do that if you do sustainability. You'll take the careers course. You'll get an opportunity to reach out to somebody that has a job that you like and kind of talk to them about it. It was actually really flattering. One student reached out to me, and that was kind of a full circle moment, and it felt really cool. But aside from that, you can just reach out to people that have jobs that you think are cool and say like, hey, how'd you get into this? I think your job sounds really neat. Tell me what you do. And most people really like talking about themselves and like talking about what they do. So don't be afraid to ask people. If you think their job's cool, ask them how they got it and start the conversation there. It's always a good thing to know people. It's always a good thing to be friendly. And definitely as I was younger in college, I was pretty shy. So I didn't do that as much as I should have, but the more you do it, the easier it gets.
So we have a question here. Thank you for that, Mackenzie, from Alejandra here in the Zoom chat. She asked, can I do this with the textiles manufacturing, fashion, or journalism? And the answer we said is yes, right? So we actually do some really interesting things with the School of Design. We have a wonderful class actually coming up later, I think at 3 o'clock today, showcasing some of the work of a gentleman named Mr. Peter Bick, who does some collaborations between sustainability and journalism. But let me put this question a little bit back to you, Mackenzie. How do you see sustainability working with other majors or fields in the university? I mean, it could be fashion design, welding, business. How do you see sustainability working with others?
It's definitely the route that you want to go, because sustainability by itself is an interesting concept, but you need to be able to apply it to something that you're passionate about. So if you are interested in textiles, that is an amazing route to go. I mean, I'm sure who is asking this question? Yeah, Alejandra, I'm sure you already know about all of the issues that exist in that industry. So yeah, it's I think a great idea to apply whatever you're interested in it, figure out how it becomes more sustainable. And that's really how you make the career. I mean, correct me, any of you if I'm wrong, but I don't really know anybody that has just a sustainability job. It's sustainability and something else.
It's at least sustainability work within an industry area.
Mm-hmm.
I always kind of think of sustainability as more like the way of thinking and the way of working together and the way of being deliberate in your planning. And it's a way to think about things, but then what industry area is going to be like, what is it that lights your fire that you really have a burning passion to address? Clothing is definitely a hot topic right now. After oil and gas, it's the next largest polluting industry on our planet. And so we got to know how to do it better.
In answer to that, Mackenzie, I would counter that when I was a sustainability student, I got an internship at U-Haul specifically to work on a sustainability initiative of tree planting to sequester carbon. And since then, U-Haul has hired 5 Arizona State University School of Sustainability graduates to work in positions specifically where sustainability is what they're doing. Sustainability grants, sustainability communities, sustainable energy implementation projects. So I think that 72% of our graduates who are actually working with a sustainability related field, I guess maybe I misunderstood the question in terms of whether or not it's in the title or if it's definitely the work they're doing.
So the way that I understand that we've defined it is that the organization has to be doing sustainability work and or the title has to have sustainability in it. And so if you were, say, a grant specialist with U-Haul, but your focus area was sustainability, we may not have captured that in our reporting because your title may not have said sustainability, and then U-Haul is not an obviously sustainable company because their primary objective is the transportation of materials, right? I think that we even had too narrow of a definition. I think we probably have a higher percentage of students that are working directly doing sustainability things than just 75%.
That's a good point. And the department is actually called Corporate Sustainability. So those 5 graduates from School of Sustainability are directly working in a sustainability department.
I'm so pleased that our graduates are getting jobs and then they are also willing to be active alumni to come back and help share their experiences. I think I might just want to do a quick plug that we actually have a job shadow program as early as your freshman year. If you apply to find out what it's like to be a day in the life of Mackenzie working at Valley Metro, if she signed up to take a student, she would talk to you about it and maybe even show you some of the reporting stuff. I don't know how confidential they are, but she would want to let you know what is it that she does every day that you can kind of see, oh, I might really like these aspects, but maybe not these aspects. And a job shadow is a really good way to get a taste of something without being very committed to it.
Mackenzie, I'm going to jump in here. Could I ask you, as a professional in a sustainability field, yes, and we've had this good conversation here, where do you see sustainability from an employment basis going, right? I mean, you were pulled in from an internship, you kind of chose your own adventure. How do you see sustainability evolving within a workplace?
I mean, I see it just getting bigger. That's just been my experience with, I guess, Valley Metro. They didn't have it before, now they have it. There's a pretty surprisingly big group of transit sustainability professionals, and there's a way that we're all connected online through different forums and different events. And it's been really interesting to see, at least just in this sector, the jobs growing. And this is just transit. So, I mean, I would assume that it's only going up. This is something that's just becoming more important to people. And the interesting thing is that, like in my experiences, people know they want it, but they don't know exactly what it is and they don't know how to bring it to the organization yet. So that's where all of us come in. And it feels kind of crazy at times because we're so young and we're being treated as the experts in this field, but that's just kind of what happens in this, at least in my experience and with some other people I've talked to. But yeah, I definitely see the sector growing. I see it growing throughout, whether you're in government, nonprofit, for-profit, whatever you're doing.
I'm so glad that you took the time to talk to us today. If you want to see that sustainability storytelling, student-produced short documentaries, that is going on today at 3:30. And then we will also have a Q&A with more of our current sustainability students that's coming up at 5. So if our attendees want to come back and join us, you can. Mackenzie, thank you so much for the time that you took to hang out with us today. Do you have any final last words to sign off?
I guess last final thought is just, we're all coworkers at the end of the day. Even though whatever you choose and you're going different directions, whatever industry, we're all going to end up working together again because we all have the same mission. So just something kind of fun. You're going to stay connected to the people in the school. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was really fun.
Thank you,
so
Mackenzie.
Yeah.
A great day, everyone.
All right. Thank you for joining us.